A broken cowboy hid from the world until an Apache woman arrived on a dying horse. Caleb McGraw used to be known by everyone in the nearby towns. People said he was the best rider in the county, the kind of man who could calm a wild horse just by looking at it. He could fix anything broken, and he was always willing to help. He was the kind of man who made people feel safe, but that was a long time ago. Now, Caleb lived alone in a small old house far away from town. The house was not in good shape. The roof leaked when it rained, and the windows were covered with dust. He had a few horses and a small garden, but he didn't talk to anyone. He didn't go into town anymore. He didn't even want to see people's faces. Caleb did not leave his home because he was lazy. He stayed away because he was tired. He was tired of the noise, tired of the questions, tired of the memories. His life had changed so much that he could not recognize himself anymore. He felt like a stranger inside his own body. At first, people tried to help him. A few of his old friends came by, bringing food or supplies. They would stand at the door and call his name. They would ask how he was doing. Caleb would nod, say a few words, and then close the door. He did not want to talk. He did not want to explain. The truth was, Caleb had been through things that made him feel ashamed. He had lost people he loved, and he had made choices he wished he could take back. He could not forget those days. He could not forgive himself, so he built a new life that was small and quiet. He woke up early every morning before the sun rose. He would feed the horses, check the fences, and do small repairs around the house. The work kept him busy, and busy was better than thinking. Thinking made him feel weak. The desert was wide and empty. It was a place where time moved slowly. The wind blew most days, carrying dust and dry leaves. Caleb liked the quiet. It made him feel like he could disappear. He liked that nobody could reach him. He liked that he did not have to answer to anyone. But the quiet was not always peaceful. Sometimes it was heavy, like a blanket that covered everything. At night, when the stars were bright and the air was cold, Caleb would sit by the window and watch the darkness. He would remember things he tried to forget. He would hear the voices of people he could not see anymore. He had a small journal hidden under a loose floorboard. He had found it years ago, when he still believed writing could help him heal. He wrote a few pages at first, but then he stopped. The pages stayed blank. He did not know what to write. He did not know how to put his feelings into words. The days passed like this for a long time. Caleb's life was simple, but it was also empty. He had food, water, and shelter. He had work to do. He had the horses, but he did not have anyone to share his life with. He did not have anyone to talk to. He did not have anyone who cared about him. He told himself he did not need anyone. He told himself he was fine. But deep inside he felt lonely. The loneliness was not loud. It was quiet and steady, like a small animal hiding in the corner. Caleb tried to ignore it. He tried to pretend it was not there. One morning, something changed. It was not a big change. It was just a small thing, but it made Caleb feel uneasy. He noticed fresh tracks in the dirt near his fence. The tracks were not from his horses. They were different. They looked like they belonged to someone who was walking carefully, as if trying not to be seen. Caleb felt his heart beat faster. He stood still and looked closely. The tracks led toward his house, then stopped near the back door. He did not know what to think. He had not seen anyone in weeks. No one came near his property unless they needed something. Caleb did not want to go outside. He did not want to see who had been there. He felt a strange fear. Not the kind of fear that comes from danger, but the kind that comes from surprise. He did not like surprises. Surprises meant change. Change meant new problems. He waited inside for a long time. He listened to the wind. He listened to the horses. He listened to the silence. He told himself it was probably nothing. Maybe a wild animal had walked near the fence. Maybe the wind had moved the dirt and made the tracks look fresh. Maybe he was imagining things, but he could not shake the feeling that someone had been there. He kept thinking about it. He kept checking the windows, looking for movement. He felt his body tense every time he heard a sound. The sun began to move across the sky, and the day grew warmer. Caleb tried to keep working. He repaired a fence post that was leaning. He fed the horses. He watered the garden. But his mind kept going back to the tracks. He kept thinking about who might be outside. As the afternoon turned into evening, the wind changed. It became cooler, and the air smelled different. Caleb stood at the door and looked out. In the distance, he saw a shape moving slowly across the land. At first, he thought it was a horse. Then he saw a person on the horse. The horse looked tired. It moved slowly, like it was about to fall. The person on the horse was small and leaned forward, holding on tightly. Caleb's body reacted before his mind could think. He felt a strong urge to hide. He felt the old instinct to run away from people. But he also felt something else, something he had not felt in a long time. He felt a small spark of curiosity. The figure got closer. Caleb could now see that the horse was very weak. Its legs shook with each step. The person on the horse looked like they were in pain. Their clothes were dusty and worn. Their face was tired. Caleb did not know who the person was. He did not know why they were here. But he knew one thing. They needed help. He did not move. At first, he watched carefully. The person guided the horse toward his property, then stopped near the fence. The horse lowered its head as if it could not go any further. Caleb felt his throat tighten. He wanted to go out and help, and he wanted to call to the person. But he also felt scared. He did not know what would happen if he approached. He did not know if the person was dangerous. He did not know if they were alone. The person finally slid off the horse. They fell to the ground gently, as if they were too weak to move. The horse stood still, breathing slowly. The person looked up and saw Caleb standing at the door. Their eyes met for a moment. Caleb could see fear in their eyes. He could also see pain. He could see that the person was trying to be brave, but they were not strong enough to hide their suffering. Caleb did not speak. He did not know what to say. He simply stepped back from the door, opened it wider, and motioned for the person to come inside. The person looked surprised. They hesitated, then slowly walked toward the house. Their movements were careful, as if they were afraid of falling. Caleb watched them closely, ready to shut the door if needed. But the person did not try to harm him. They only wanted help. They sat down on the floor near the door and looked at Caleb with tired eyes. Caleb went to the kitchen and filled a cup with water. He brought it to the person. The person drank slowly, as if they had not had water in a long time. Caleb could see the relief on their face. He did not ask questions. He did not ask where they came from or why they were here. He did not ask their name. He simply sat down near them and waited. The evening passed quietly. The person slept for a while. The horse rested outside. Caleb watched them both. He felt a strange feeling inside him. He felt something he had not felt in years. He felt needed. He did not know what would happen next. He did not know if the person would stay. He did not know if they would leave, but he knew that his quiet life had changed. For the first time in a long time, Caleb felt something move inside him. It was not fear. It was not pain. It was something else. It was hope. The next morning, Caleb woke up before the sun. The air was cool and quiet. He stood by the window and looked out at the land. The desert seemed calm. The horses were eating quietly. Everything looked normal, but Caleb knew it was not normal anymore. The presence of the visitor changed everything. He went to the kitchen and made a small breakfast. He did not know if the person would wake up soon, but he wanted to be ready. He carried a plate of food to the room where the visitor was sleeping. The person was still lying on the floor, wrapped in a blanket. Caleb gently placed the plate nearby. The person stirred and opened their eyes. Their eyes looked tired, but there was a small light of gratitude in them. They sat up slowly, and Caleb could see that they were still weak. Their hands shook slightly. The person looked at the food and then at Caleb. They nodded, as if saying thank you. They did not speak much. Their English was not strong, and Caleb did not know their language. But the simple nod made Caleb feel that they understood each other. The visitor took a small bite of the food. Their face showed relief. They ate slowly, not because they did not like the food, but because they had to save their energy. Caleb watched them carefully. He wanted to help, but he did not know how. After breakfast, Caleb went outside to check on the horse. The horse was standing near the fence, eating a little hay. It looked tired, but it was alive. Caleb felt a small smile appear on his face. The horse was strong, and maybe it would get better. Caleb filled a bucket with water and brought it to the horse. The horse drank quickly, then lowered its head. Caleb patted its neck gently. He could feel the horse's ribs through its skin. The animal was thin and weak. Caleb knew it needed more care than he could give in one day. He went back inside and sat down near the visitor. He wanted to speak, but he did not know where to begin. He did not want to ask too many questions. He did not want to scare them away. The visitor looked at Caleb and finally spoke a few words. "Thank you," they said slowly. I need rest." Caleb nodded. He did not answer with words. He simply sat there, listening. He did not know what to say. He did not know how to ask for the visitor's name. He did not know if it was polite to ask. The visitor leaned back and closed their eyes. They seemed to fall asleep again. Caleb watched them for a moment. He felt a strange sense of peace. The visitor's presence was calm. It was different from the noise of the town, different from the memories that haunted him. It felt like a quiet river flowing through his life. Caleb tried to remember the last time he had felt this calm. He could not remember. It had been so long. He realized that he had been living in a world of pain for so long that he had forgotten what peace felt like. He stood up and walked to the small table by the window. He picked up the journal that he had hidden under the floorboard. He had not written in it for years. He held it in his hands and felt the weight of the blank pages. He wanted to write. He wanted to write about the visitor. He wanted to write about the strange feeling that had returned to him. But he could not. The words would not come. He placed the journal back in its hiding place and sat down again. The day passed slowly. Caleb did small chores around the house. He cleaned the floor. He washed the dishes. He repaired a loose board on the porch. The visitor slept most of the time. When they were awake, they would look out the window and watch the horses. They did not speak much, but their eyes showed curiosity. Caleb began to notice small things about the visitor. They had dark hair that was braided. Their skin was brown and sun-touched. They wore simple clothes, but the clothes were clean. Their hands were rough, like someone who worked hard. Caleb could see that the visitor had been through difficult times. Caleb also noticed something else. The visitor did not look at him with fear anymore. They looked at him with trust. Caleb did not know why they trusted him. He did not feel like someone worth trusting. But the visitor's trust made him feel something he had not felt in a long time. He felt like a person again. That evening, the visitor woke up and sat by the window. They looked at the sky, which was painted with orange and purple colors. Caleb sat beside them. He wanted to speak, but he was afraid he would say something wrong. The visitor looked at Caleb and tried to speak again. You help me?" they said. "Why?" Caleb took a deep breath. He thought about his answer. He could have said, "Because it is the right thing to do." He could have said, "Because I was once helped by others." He could have said, "Because I am lonely." But he did not want to say anything that would sound weak or strange. So he said the truth in the simplest way he could. "Because you needed help," he said. "And I could help." The visitor listened carefully. Their eyes softened. They nodded slowly. They looked at Caleb with a quiet smile. It was a small smile, but it was the first time Caleb had seen a real smile in a long time. The next morning, Caleb woke up to the sound of soft footsteps. He opened his eyes and saw the visitors standing near the door. They were holding a small bowl of water and a cloth. The visitor looked at Caleb and spoke. I want help you," they said. "I want help you with your house." Caleb was surprised. He did not expect the visitor to offer help. He did not know what to say. He looked at the visitor and felt his heart warm. "Why?" Caleb asked. The visitor looked down. They seemed unsure. Then they said, "Because you helped me, I want help you too." Caleb felt a strange emotion in his chest. It was not something he could name. It was like a small light turning on inside him. He nodded. "Okay," he said. "Thank you." The visitor smiled again. This time, the smile was stronger. They looked like a person who had found a reason to keep going. Caleb and the visitor worked together that day. They repaired a broken fence. They cleaned the stable. They carried water from the well, water and water. The visitor moved slowly, but they worked carefully. Caleb noticed that they had strong hands, the hands of someone who knew how to work with the earth. As they worked, Caleb began to feel something change. He felt less lonely. He felt less heavy. The visitor's presence was like a soft wind that moved through the desert, making everything feel alive again. At one point, the visitor stopped and looked at Caleb. They spoke again, slowly. "Your face, you look tired," they said. Caleb looked down. He did not want to think about his tired face. He did not want to think about how old he looked. He did not want to think about the years that had passed. But the visitor was right. He did look tired. He looked like a man who had carried a heavy load for too long. Caleb did not answer. He just continued working. He did not want to talk about his feelings. He did not want to open the door to the past. That night, after the work was done, Caleb sat by the fire. The visitor sat beside him. They did not speak much. They simply sat and watched the flames. Caleb thought about the visitor's words. He thought about the tired face. He thought about his own life. He thought about the time he had spent hiding. He realized something. He realized that he had been hiding from people not only because he was ashamed, but because he was afraid. He was afraid that if he opened up, he would lose control. He was afraid that his pain would come back and destroy him. But now, the visitor was here. The visitor had entered his life without asking for permission. The visitor had brought a new kind of quiet with them. The visitor had shown him that it was possible to care for someone again. Caleb did not know what would happen next. He did not know if the visitor would stay. He did not know if the visitor would leave. But he knew that his life was changing. For the first time in a long time, Caleb felt a small hope that he could not ignore. The days after the visitor arrived felt different for Caleb. The morning light did not feel empty anymore. The house did not feel like a place to hide. It felt like a place where something new could begin. Caleb noticed this without trying to think about it. It simply happened. The visitor, who still did not share their name, continued to rest and recover. Each day they grew a little stronger. They walked more confidently. They spoke more clearly. Their bodies still showed signs of weakness, but their spirits seemed to be returning. Caleb was careful with them. He did not want to push them too hard. He also did not want to show that he was afraid of their presence. He wanted to act normal, as if everything was normal. But everything was not normal. It had been a long time since Caleb had felt the presence of another person in his home. He began to look forward to their small conversations. He began to feel curious about their life. He wanted to know more about them. But he did not want to ask too much. He did not want to sound like he was being rude. One afternoon, while they were working in the yard, the visitor suddenly stopped and looked up at the sky. They stared for a moment, as if listening to something. Caleb watched them closely. He wondered what they were thinking. Then the visitor spoke. Slowly, "I hear sound," they said. "Sound from far away." Caleb listened. He did not hear anything at first. The desert was quiet. But then he heard it too. It was a distant noise, like a group of people talking, or a sound of animals moving. It was faint, but it was there. Caleb felt his body tense. He did not like the idea of strangers approaching. He had been hiding for so long that he had forgotten how to feel safe around others. He did not know if the sound meant danger or simply people passing by. The visitor looked at Caleb and said, "Maybe people. Maybe, help." Caleb nodded slowly. He did not want to admit that he was curious. He did not want to admit that he wanted to see who was coming. He had built his life around avoiding people. Now, people were coming to him. As the sound grew louder, Caleb moved toward the door. He looked out and saw a small group of riders approaching in the distance. They were not close yet, but they were coming closer. The riders moved slowly, as if they were tired or cautious. Caleb felt his heart beat faster. He could not tell if he was afraid or excited. He could not tell if he wanted to hide or to greet them. The riders reached the edge of his property. They stopped. One of them raised a hand in greeting. Caleb recognized the man. It was Thomas, a neighbor from the nearby town. Thomas had come by before, bringing supplies and asking how Caleb was doing. Caleb felt a mixture of emotions. He felt anger at himself for feeling nervous. He felt relief that it was someone he knew. He felt shame for the years he had spent hiding. Thomas approached the house slowly. He looked at Caleb and then at the visitor. His eyes widened in surprise. He had not expected to see someone else there. "Caleb," Thomas said, "I heard there was someone staying with you. I thought you might need help." Caleb nodded. He did not know what to say. He felt embarrassed. He did not want to explain everything. He did not want to say that he had been lonely and that this visitor had brought light back into his life. The visitor stood beside Caleb. They looked at Thomas with calm eyes. They did not look scared. They did not look angry. They simply looked curious. Thomas looked at the visitor and then smiled. "Hello," he said, gently. "Are you okay?" The visitor nodded. They did not speak much, but their expression showed that they understood Thomas. Thomas looked at Caleb again. "You should come back to town sometimes," he said. "People miss you." Caleb felt a tight feeling in his chest. He did not know how to respond. He did not want to go back to town. He did not want to face people. He did not want to face his past. But Thomas's words made Caleb think. He thought about the days when people would greet him warmly. He thought about the laughter and the stories. He thought about the simple feeling of being part of a community. He had given that up. He had chosen to hide. He had chosen to live alone. He had chosen to stay away from people because he believed he did not deserve them. Now, someone was telling him that people missed him. Caleb looked down. He felt a tear form in his eye, but he quickly blinked it away. He did not want Thomas to see him cry. He did not want anyone to see him weak. Thomas noticed the visitor and looked at them again. He said, "Do you have a name?" The visitor hesitated. They looked at Caleb as if asking for permission. Caleb nodded slightly. He did not know why, but he felt that it was the right time to share their name. The visitor spoke softly. "My name is Naya." Caleb felt a small warmth spread through him when he heard the name. It sounded beautiful and strong. He realized that he had been calling the visitor in his mind for too long. Naya was a person. She was real. She had a life. She had a name. Thomas smiled. "Nice to meet you, Naya," he said. "You can stay here as long as you need." Naya nodded, but her eyes looked far away. It was as if she was thinking about something else. Caleb wondered what she was thinking. Thomas looked at Caleb again. "I brought supplies," he said. "Food, blankets, and a few tools. I thought you might need them." Caleb felt a wave of gratitude. He did not know how to express it. He simply nodded and thanked Thomas. He felt awkward, but he was grateful. He realized that people still cared about him even after all this time. Thomas stayed for a while. He talked about small things, weather, town news, and how the crops were doing. Caleb listened. He did not speak much, but he felt comforted by the familiar sounds of conversation. Naya listened too. She did not understand everything, but she watched Thomas carefully. She seemed interested in his way of speaking, in the way he moved, in the way he smiled. After a while, Thomas stood up. He looked at Caleb and said, "If you need anything, just send someone to town. We can help." Caleb nodded. Thomas waved and rode away with the others. The sound of the horses faded into the distance. When the riders were gone, Caleb turned to Naya. He saw that she was watching the spot where they had left. Her face looked sad. "Are you okay?" Caleb asked. Naya looked at him and shook her head slowly. "I miss, my people," she said. "I miss my home." He understood. He had missed his own life, too. He had missed the people he loved. He had missed the feeling of being part of something. He sat down beside Naya and put his hand gently on her shoulder. It was a simple gesture, but it meant a lot. Naya looked at him and nodded. She did not speak. She did not need to. The silence between them was not empty. It was full of understanding. Caleb realized that Naya was not only a visitor, she was a person with her own story. She was not here by accident. She had come into his life for a reason. He did not know what that reason was yet, but he felt that it was something important. The next day, Caleb decided to talk to Naya about her past. He wanted to know where she came from. He wanted to know why she was here. He wanted to know what she had been through. Naya sat by the fire and began to speak. Her voice was quiet but steady. She told Caleb about her home, about the land where she grew up, about her family, and about the people she loved. She spoke of the beauty of her culture and the traditions that were passed down from generation to generation. Caleb listened closely. He did not interrupt. He did not judge. He simply listened. He realized that he had never listened to someone like this before. He had always been too busy thinking about his own pain. Naya spoke about the journey she had taken. She spoke about the long walk across the land, about the nights she had slept under the stars, and about the days when she had felt tired but still kept going. Caleb felt moved. He could see the strength in her eyes. He could see that she had been through hard times, but she had not given up. She had survived. Caleb looked at Naya and felt something shift inside him. He realized that he had been living in a small world. He had been thinking only about himself. He had forgotten that other people also had pain, and that other people also needed help. Naya's story made him feel connected to the world again. It made him feel that his life was not only about his own suffering. It made him feel that there was more to life than hiding. Caleb did not know what the future held. He did not know if Naya would stay or if she would leave. He did not know if he would ever go back to town. But he knew one thing. He was no longer alone. The days continued to pass, and Caleb found himself growing more comfortable with Naya's presence. Her quiet strength made the house feel warmer. It was as if the old walls had finally found a reason to stand strong again. Caleb still did not know why she had come, but he felt that her arrival was not a mistake. It felt like something meant to happen. Naya's recovery continued. Her strength grew slowly but steadily. She could walk longer distances now. She could lift heavier things. She could help Caleb with the work. She began to learn the routine of the ranch, and she did it with a calm patience that surprised Caleb. Caleb began to see that Naya was not only brave, but also very wise. She knew how to read the land. She could tell when the weather was changing. She knew how to find water in places that looked dry. Caleb realized that she had a deep connection to the earth. She was not just a traveler. She was someone who belonged to the land. One afternoon, while they were working near the stable, Naya suddenly stopped and looked at the horizon. Her eyes became serious. She looked like she was remembering something important. Caleb noticed the change and stopped working too. "What is it?" Caleb asked gently. Naya turned to him and said, "I think someone is looking for me." Caleb felt a sudden fear. He did not want to imagine what that meant. He did not want to think about someone coming to take her away. He did not want to think about her being in danger. He did not want to think about losing her. But Naya's voice was calm. She did not sound scared. She sounded certain. "I have been gone for a while," she continued. "People may be worried. They may come." Caleb looked at her. He could see the worry in her eyes. He could see that she was thinking about her home, about her family, about the people she left behind. He could see that she was not only thinking about herself, she was thinking about others. Caleb did not know what to say. He wanted to ask her more questions, but he did not want to upset her. He did not want to make her feel like she was being watched. So he said the only thing he could think of. "If someone comes, we will deal with it," he said. "You are safe here." Naya nodded slowly. She seemed to accept his words, but she also looked distant. Caleb could tell that she was thinking about something else. That night, Caleb could not sleep. He kept thinking about Naya's words. He kept thinking about someone coming. He kept thinking about what would happen if Naya had to leave. He did not want to lose her. He did not want to go back to the life of loneliness. He got up and walked to the window. The moon was bright, and the desert looked quiet. Caleb could see the shadows of the horses moving slowly in the stable. Everything looked peaceful. But Caleb knew that peace could change quickly. He returned to bed, but he could not rest. He kept thinking about the future. He kept thinking about what Naya had said. He kept thinking about the feeling that something was about to happen. The next morning, Caleb woke up early and decided to prepare. He did not know what he was preparing for, but he felt that it was important to be ready. He checked the fences. He filled extra water buckets. He gathered some supplies and placed them near the door. When Naya woke up, she noticed what Caleb was doing. She looked at him with a gentle smile. "You worry," she said. Caleb nodded. "I do," he admitted. "I don't want anything to happen to you." Naya stood up and walked toward him. She placed her hand on his arm. Her touch was warm and steady. She looked at him with kind eyes.
"Caleb," she said softly, "I am not a child.
"I can take care of myself, but I am glad you worry." Caleb felt his cheeks warm. He did not like being called someone who worries. He liked to think of himself as strong, but Naya's words made him feel something else. They made him feel cared for. They made him feel like he was important. The day passed slowly. Caleb and Naya worked together, as usual. They talked about small things. They laughed a little. It felt normal, like life was returning to its proper place. Caleb enjoyed the simple moments. He enjoyed the feeling of being needed. Then, in the late afternoon, the sound came again. The sound of people moving through the desert. This time it was closer. It was louder. Caleb could hear voices, faint but clear. He looked at Naya. She stood still, listening. Her face was calm, but her eyes were focused. She seemed to be preparing herself for what was coming. The voices grew louder. Caleb saw movement in the distance. A small group of riders appeared, slowly approaching the house. They were not far now. Caleb could see their faces. Caleb felt his heart beat faster. He stepped forward, ready to face them. He wanted to protect Naya. He wanted to show her that he could be strong. He wanted to prove to himself that he was not broken. The riders stopped near the fence. One of them, a woman, stepped forward. She looked around and then spoke to Naya. "Naya," she said softly, "we have been looking for you." Naya's eyes widened. She looked at the woman, then at Caleb. She seemed surprised and confused. She did not know what to do. Caleb stepped forward. He wanted to speak, but he did not know what to say. He did not want to cause trouble. He did not want to make the situation worse. He simply stood there, watching. The woman continued. "Your family is worried. They want you to come back." Naya looked down. She looked sad. Caleb could see that she was torn. She wanted to go back to her family. She wanted to see them. She missed them. But she also did not want to leave Caleb. She did not want to leave the life she was building here. Caleb felt a strange feeling in his chest. He felt happy that Naya had people who cared about her. He felt sad that she might leave. He felt scared that he would be alone again. Naya looked at Caleb and spoke softly. "I have to go," she said. "I cannot stay here forever." Caleb felt his throat tighten. He did not want to say anything that would sound selfish. He did not want to stop her. He did not want to be the reason she stayed away from her family. But he also did not want to lose her. He did not want to go back to the empty life. He looked at her and said, "If you go, I will understand, but I will miss you." Naya's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Caleb and nodded. She stepped toward him and placed her hand on his cheek. It was a gentle touch, full of meaning. She looked at him and said, "Thank you. You gave me a place to rest. You gave me hope." Caleb felt a tear fall from his eye. He quickly wiped it away. "Pal." He did not want to cry in front of them, but he could not help it. The emotions were too strong. The riders waited quietly. They watched the scene. They did not interrupt. They seemed to understand that this was a moment of goodbye. Naya turned to the woman and nodded. "I will come," she said. "I will go back with you." The woman nodded and smiled softly. She looked at Caleb and said, "Thank you for taking care of her." Caleb nodded. He did not know what else to say. The riders prepared to leave. Naya gathered her belongings. She looked at the house one last time. She looked at Caleb and nodded again. Then she mounted her horse and the group began to move away. Caleb stood at the door and watched them leave. He felt the emptiness return. The house felt quiet again. The desert felt empty again. The silence returned like a heavy blanket, but something had changed. Caleb realized that he had been given a gift. He had been given a chance to feel again. He had been given a chance to connect with another person. He had been given a chance to live. Even though Naya was leaving, Caleb felt that he was not the same man he was before she arrived. He had learned something important, that it was possible to care for someone again, and that it was possible to be cared for in return. Caleb went inside and sat by the fire. He looked at the empty space where Naya used to sit. He thought about her words. He thought about the way she smiled. He thought about the way she had helped him without asking for anything in return. He realized that his life would never be the same. He did not know if Naya would return. He did not know if he would ever see her again, but he knew that he would always remember her. Caleb closed his eyes and let the memory of her presence fill his mind. He felt a small warmth inside him, like a small fire that would not go out. He had been broken, but he had begun to heal. After Naya left, the house felt empty in a way Caleb had never felt before. The silence returned, but this time it was different. Before, the silence had been heavy and cold. Now, the silence felt quiet and thoughtful. It felt like the calm after a storm. Caleb could still feel Naya's presence in the air, like a faint scent of flowers that remained after someone had passed by. Caleb did not sleep well that night. He kept waking up, thinking he heard her voice. He kept looking toward the door, expecting her to walk back inside. He told himself that she was gone. He told himself that he should not expect her to return. But his heart did not agree. His heart wanted to believe she would come back. The next morning, Caleb went outside and checked the horses. They were healthy and calm. The land looked the same. The sun rose in the same place. The world continued without him. Caleb felt a strange sense of loneliness. but also a strange sense of strength. He had survived this long without people. He could survive now, too. He fed the horses and watered the garden. He did the same chores he had done for years. But this time, the work felt different. It felt like a way to honor the time he had spent with Naya. It felt like a way to keep moving forward. As the day went on, Caleb noticed small changes in himself. He found himself smiling at small things. He noticed the colors of the sunset. He listened to the birds in the morning. He felt the wind on his face. These were simple things, but they felt important now. They felt like signs that life could be beautiful again. Caleb began to write in his journal again. He had not written for a long time. He had kept the journal hidden, like a secret he did not want to share with anyone. But now he felt the need to write. He wanted to remember Naya's visit. He wanted to remember how she had changed him. He wrote about the first day he saw her. He wrote about the way she looked when she arrived. He wrote about the tired horse and the way she had asked for water. He wrote about the way she had trusted him, even though she did not know him. He wrote about the way she had smiled. He wrote about the way she had helped him without asking for anything. He wrote about the way she had made him feel like a person again. As he wrote, Caleb felt his heart open. He realized that he had been holding his pain like a heavy rock for many years. He had been carrying it alone, and it had grown heavier with time. But now, writing made the rock feel smaller. It felt like he was putting the weight down. Caleb continued to work on the ranch. He repaired the fence that had been broken. He cleaned the stable. He fixed the roof where it leaked. He worked with purpose. He worked with a new kind of energy. He also began to think about the town again. He had not been there in a long time. He had not spoken to anyone. He had not faced the people who once knew him. He had not faced his own past. But now, after Naya's visit, he felt different. He felt that he could go back. He felt that he could talk to people without feeling shame. He felt that he could be a part of the community again. One day, a few weeks after Naya left, Caleb decided to visit the town. He felt nervous, but he also felt ready. He walked slowly, taking his time. He wanted to be sure he could handle the emotions. When he reached the town, he saw familiar faces. People were working in the streets. Children were playing. The town looked busy and alive. Caleb felt his heart beat faster. He felt like a stranger in a place he once knew well. He walked to the small store where he used to buy supplies. The store owner, a kind woman named Mary, looked up and saw him. Her eyes widened in surprise. She smiled warmly. "Caleb," she said, "it's been a long time." Caleb nodded. "Yes," he replied softly. Mary came around the counter and placed her hand on his shoulder. "You look good," she said. "I'm glad to see you." Caleb felt a tear in his eye, but he did not let it fall. He smiled and thanked her. He felt a warmth in his chest. He felt like he belonged. Mary asked, "How have you been?" Caleb hesitated. He did not want to talk about the difficult things. He did not want to talk about the past. But he also did not want to lie. He decided to tell the truth in a simple way. "I've been okay," he said. "I've been living alone, but I'm learning to live again." Mary nodded. She understood. She did not ask too many questions. She simply listened. She smiled again and said, "You are always welcome here." Caleb thanked her and left the store. He walked through the town slowly. He noticed people looking at him. Some nodded. Some smiled. Some looked away. He did not know what they thought, but he realized that he no longer cared as much as he used to. He had changed. He had found a new strength. On his way back to the ranch, Caleb stopped by the edge of town. He looked at the road that led to his home. He thought about Naya. He thought about the time they had spent together. He wondered if she was safe. He wondered if she had returned to her family. He felt a sudden desire to know. He wanted to know if she was okay. He wanted to know if she remembered him. That night, Caleb sat by the fire and looked at the stars. He thought about the future. He thought about the possibility of meeting Naya again. He thought about the possibility of building a new life. He did not know what would happen. He did not know if he would ever see her again. But he knew that he would always carry her in his heart. The days turned into weeks. The weeks turned into months. Caleb continued to work on the ranch. He continued to write in his journal. He continued to live with purpose. He began to repair the house more carefully. He began to plant more seeds in the garden. He began to feel hopeful about the future. One day, a rider appeared on the horizon. Caleb was working in the yard when he saw the figure. His heart began to beat faster. He walked toward the fence and watched. The rider came closer. It was a woman. Her hair was braided. Her clothes were worn but clean. She looked familiar. Caleb felt his breath catch in his throat. His heart felt like it would jump out of his chest. He did not know if he was dreaming or if this was real. The rider stopped near the fence. She looked at Caleb and smiled. "Naya," Caleb whispered. Naya nodded. She stepped off her horse and walked toward him. She looked stronger than before. She looked calm. She looked happy. Caleb felt tears in his eyes. He did not try to hide them. He let them fall. He felt a warmth in his heart that he had not felt in a long time. Naya reached Caleb and placed her hand on his cheek. "I promised I would come back," she said softly. "I did not forget." Caleb smiled through his tears. "I did not forget either," he said. Naya looked around at the house. She looked at the land. She looked at the horses. She smiled again. "You have changed," she said. "You are not hiding anymore." Caleb nodded. "You helped me," he said. "You gave me hope." Naya's eyes softened. She looked at him and said, "And you gave me a place to rest, a place to remember who I am." Caleb felt a deep sense of peace. He realized that their meeting had changed both of them. They had both been broken in different ways. They had both been searching for something. They had both found it in each other. Naya stayed with Caleb for a long time after that. She helped him with the ranch. She helped him with the house. She shared stories and laughter. They worked together and lived together in peace. Caleb no longer felt like a broken man. He felt like someone who had been given a second chance. He had found a new life, not because he had forgotten his past, but because he had learned to carry it with him. And every time Caleb looked at Naya, he remembered the day she arrived on a dying horse. He remembered the moment when his life began to change. He knew that he would never be the same again.